Alrighty, how's everyone doing this morning? Awesome. So, normally this talk I give is about 40 minutes. We're going to condense it into 15 minutes. So, if I'm going a little fast, I'm sorry. So, my name is Ben Mayforth. I'm a paraclimber for the U.S. paraclimbing team, and I'm going to tell you how getting involved in the paraclimbing community changed my life. So, I was born with multiple birth defects, ranging from spina bifida to missing ribs, so many different things that could have just gone wrong in the development of a child. It totally went wrong for me. But that's okay. I still enjoyed life. I tried to have the best amount of fun as a child. Obviously, in the bottom right-hand corner, I love to just sit in a hot tub and enjoy the sun. That's kind of like my deal. But I also did a lot of other things. Next slide. I was still very active. I used a wheelchair for a good majority of my life to try and keep up with people and to kind of figure out ways to do different activities, including grocery shopping. Next slide. But we were always an active family in my family. We went to Alaska. We did a lot of hiking. We did a lot of camping. But the outdoors were always a big, major part in my life. Next slide. But I also had a competitive nature. I came from a very competitive family. Monopoly was not the nicest family game. But I competed in every wheelchair sport possible, whether it was track and field, baseball, or wheelchair basketball. Next slide. Wheelchair basketball actually took me to college, and actually I played for the University of Missouri for 5 years. If you're from Arkansas, I'm sorry, but go Mizzou. But being part of just climbing in general kind of changed my life. In college, I kind of found climbing on my own and just started bouldering. I quit playing wheelchair basketball just due to mental health reasons and academic reasons. It was really kind of playing a horrible part on my academics, so I kind of took myself away from that. So I needed something to kind of keep my competitive drive and my discipline up, so I started bouldering, and I started going to bouldering gyms. You can leave it on this one. Then in 2018, a buddy of mine said, hey, there's this festival down at HP 40. It's an adaptive climbers festival. You should go and check it out. And I'm like, okay, let's go and check it out. Let's see what happens. I've never really been a part of an adaptive climbing community at that point. I didn't even know there were other adaptive climbers outside of watching maybe a couple films like Moe's or Ronnie's that I really kind of knew that there were adaptive climbers out there. So I decided to drive the 14 hours from Bel Air, Maryland, all the way down to Steele, Alabama, by myself, having no idea what I was going to get into, and then rolling in and meeting two people, and they're like, oh, you're from Maryland, you must know Scott. And I'm like, who is Scott? Turns out there was a guy not even 2 hours from me trying to start an adaptive climbing community in the same gym network that I worked for. I worked for this gym and no one communicated that there were other adaptive climbers inside of this gym community. Gym community was Earth Treks. But eventually we figured it out. After doing this festival, I got involved with so many different comps, whether it was small bouldering comps to U.S. national comps. And after my first year of paraclimbing, I got to go to Innsbruck, Austria, and compete in my first world championship. And this is just a matter of going to one event in February to fast forwarding to August. I had already traveled to Alabama, 20 minutes from my house, to Columbus, Ohio, to Innsbruck, Austria, all in a matter of 8 months. And it was a real change on my life. once I got involved in paraclimbing, you can go to the next slide. I kind of got obsessed with climbing and got obsessed with building community. So I started coming down here to Stone Fort and doing the Triple Crown series and trying to build up other paraclimbers to come out and try the Triple Crown series. Now that I knew there were other paraclimbers and how to access that community, I really tried to get other people involved and come out and do other competitions. It was also a selfish endeavor of mine because I was not happy with my performance in Innsbruck in 2018. I was trying to kind of get a more experience in that competitive realm. Go ahead and next slide. After that, I kind of realized that we still needed more opportunities to compete. So I started, I picked up where Scott had left off. Scott had created this adaptive bouldering competition, and I took it over after he left the Maryland area. And I kept putting in comps for local bouldering comps and then making adaptive specific bouldering comps across the community, and saw how much those small comps made a difference in people's day-to-day lives. Like, people had a reason to go out and train, people had a reason to come out and do community aspects and just have a good time. Next slide. After a while, I started getting really intertwined with everybody, like finding great friends and realizing that I had a space that I belonged in, like somewhere where I could have my own outdoor adventures, but also feed that competitive side of myself. And also doing it with friends, like that was the biggest thing. Every time I went out and did something, I did it with good friends and just learned that this community was like the biggest part of my life at that point. Next slide. Eventually, like, it took me all the way to Moscow. Paraclimbing and paraclimbing competitions just kind of exploded for me, and I got to travel the world. I got to help coach other people. That was another thing. I was coaching other people to get through competitions and to train for competitions. It became a whole entire huge part of my life where a good majority of my life I spent it in the gym, training people, whether they were able-bodied or paraclimbers. It just completely took over who I was and what I was doing, and led me to some amazing places. Next slide. The big part now for me is still coaching and still building community. I'm still putting on competitions. I'm still putting on training camps and just trying to help educate my community. Because my community took me to great lengths, I just have to give back constantly. Like, that's the biggest thing. Every event I do, I always try and give something back to the adaptive community, whether it's some sort of instruction, some sort of word of advice, or even just like a small mindfulness clinic. Next slide. It's, that's a little dark, but it's all good. You can move to the next slide. So, the other thing paraclimbing brought me was love, actually. In 2021, while I was in Moscow, I met my fiance. She climbs for Slovenia. She's a paraclimber, and we kind of talked for a little while at a competition, and then we had our first date inside of ISO. If you're not familiar with climbing competitions, they'll put the climbers inside of an isolated room and exclude them from the outside world so they don't know what the route is. And I brought her some apple strudels and a smoothie to do our first date ever inside of ISO. Next slide. But that was kind of the start for me. It's not just like the US paraclimbing community that I'm psyched on, which like I've coached for years. I've done competitions and done clinics throughout the country, just hanging out and getting to chill with paraclimbers. But when I met Mansa, I was traveling to Slovenia more and more and competing more overseas, getting to meet other paraclimbers from around the world, and getting a chance to climb in some very amazing places, but also climb with other paraclimbers that didn't really have a community. That's the biggest thing in our European community is they don't really hang out with each other outside of climbing competitions or climbing practices. It's not really a big thing for them to go out with other paraclimbers and to climb. Where in the U.S., that's a majority of our community is going outside and having fun. Next slide. So, like, I've met all these amazing people. These are like my fellow competitors in my category. These are just good friends in general. But because I've been around the world and I've seen these communities, I realized that I had a more global community than I thought I did. And I had friends around the world that I would have never anticipated having if it wasn't for paraclimbing. We even participated in the first ever parablock, and that was a huge opportunity. Like, growing up as a climber and seeing Seagull Block come into the realm, like, you've always wanted to, like, climb a 50-foot wall and take a ground fall into a pool. Like, that's always on someone's bucket list, right? Like, you see the Seagull Block, you're like, oh, I want to do that. And luckily enough, I got to be part of the first ever parablock and got that opportunity. The water it's not as friendly as you think it is. So my word of advice for Seagull Block, it hurts. But we just keep going along the years of my journey, and the biggest thing I can say about paraclimbing is it literally gave me everything. It changed me from being an insurance salesman to working in a gym and instructing and coaching to getting the chance to travel the world and meet amazing people and find amazing communities. And I think that's the biggest thing that we're trying to celebrate here at Memphis Rox Fest is just how our smaller communities really make an impact and make a change and really change your life. Go ahead. And the biggest thing I just want to say is, like, go to the small events, go to the tiny events, because you really truly don't know how that one little event, how a little bouldering event in Horse Pens, Alabama, 14 hours away from my house, would change my whole entire course. It literally gave me everything that I have today, gave me the best friends I've ever had, and just completely changed my life. So be grateful for your smaller communities and be grateful for everything that they give you, and just enjoy the climbing. Have fun and just go crush it.